Welcome back, Pioneer family, and thanks for joining us first-time viewers. This is Ricky with the Red Dirt Pioneers, and today we're going to be harvesting our Freedom Ranger chickens. If this is your first time here and you enjoy the video, please take a moment to subscribe, and we would also appreciate it if you would share our video with others. Don't forget to hit the bell so you get notifications for all of our future videos. Alright, so what we're looking at is our Freedom Ranger flock. These guys were raised in a mobile chicken tractor so that they could enjoy fresh grass and bugs, and they were also supplemented with non-GMO feed for an all-around healthy diet. This chicken tractor was inspired by Joel Salatin. I'll post the link in the description so that you can see how this tractor was constructed. It's worked pretty well for us, but we may try new ideas for future tractors that we build. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm constructing a pallet frame to hold the kill cones that we're going to use to dispatch the chickens. We saw this idea on another channel and thought it was very economical and quick and seemed pretty easy. What I'm using here are repurposed pallets that I collected from stores that decided to give them out for free. We got them from our local co-op. There's a dairy farm that we also got some pallets from. We always make sure that we get free or repurposed wood whenever possible so that we can make the best use of our available resources. The boards that are on top are actually the sides of a pallet that we had already harvested for another project. So instead of using 2x4s to brace these pallets, I'm just making use of more free pallet wood. Just popping a couple of framing nails in to hold it together. It doesn't have to be extremely sturdy because this is only going to hold a total of about 4 kill cones, and chickens that weigh only about 4 or 5 pounds, so it's not going to have a lot of weight. The only issue with today is it's pretty windy, as you can see, but it doesn't really have much effect on the pallets. These are the tables that we have set up for processing. Again, very windy, so we've got a brick holding down the vacuum bags. That bucket is where we're going to throw all the discard, and then we have a sanitizer bowl and then an ice water bowl, as well as some cutting gloves, sharpening stone, and knives. And this cooler is where we're going to put the processed chickens when they're done to cool down while they wait to get vacuum sealed. And here are the vacuum seal bags. Very easy, we just dip them in hot water and they seal right up. This is our scalder that we have set up. I actually just purchased a turkey fryer and I'm using it as a scalder. Here I have a razor edge knife, which is extremely sharp, has disposable blade, as well as a paring knife and one of our hunting knives. This guy right here is one of our Freedom Ranger Roosters. I think he's probably about 5 pounds. Not much difference between him and one of our hens as far as the way they grow, their meat and fat percentage, and just their overall body composition, especially at this age. When they get a little older, the roosters will start changing, but he's got a very good, thick, fatty breast. He's also got some good meaty thighs. Overall, very happy with him. And here what you see is I used a feed bag as a kill cone. Saw this idea online and it actually works pretty well. So we've dispatched our first 2 chickens and I'm dipping them in the scalding water. It's ideal to have the water at about 150 to 160 degrees Fahrenheit. If you get a little bit over 160 degrees, what you're going to find is that it actually starts to partially cook the skin, and when you pluck the chicken or put it in an automatic plucker, it will actually start ripping the skin. If you get the temperature too low at about 150 or lower, you're just going to have a hard time plucking. The feathers aren't going to come out very easy. So I'm just dipping this bird up and down in the water. And then I check the tips of the wings. Just give a little tug on the feathers, and if they pull out real easy like that just did, then it's ready. So I'm going to set this to the side and go ahead and start on the second bird. Let's give this one a good wash up and down in the scalding water. I like to hold the birds by the feet, that way I can keep my hands out of the scalding water. I've actually accidentally dumped my hands a couple of times in there, and it doesn't feel too great. Some people like to wear some heat insulated gloves. I'm going to take them out to our yard bird plucker, and the instructions say that you can do 2 at a time, so that's what we're going to do and see how it works. So that didn't take long at all, and it plucked pretty nicely. So I've already removed the head from the chicken, and now I'm cutting into the skin around the neck, and I'm going to remove the crop. This is really important because if you puncture or rupture the crop and the chicken has a full crop, you're going to get a pretty strong vinegar smell that could possibly taint your meat. The crop's actually attached to the inside of the breast just by a fascia tissue. So if you just gently pull, you can peel the crop away from the breast, and then you can cut it free of the windpipe, and then go around to the rear end of the chicken, and I'm just feeling for a separation of the vertebrae. And if you put your knife in between the 2 vertebrae, it'll just go right through. You want to be careful and not cut too deep between the vertebrae, because then you'll get the intestine. You don't want to cut that open because you'll taint the meat with manure. Just gently cut around the sides of the tail, flip it over, make an incision right at the base of the breastbone, and then on the sides where the hip bones are, just make incisions. Again, small strokes, being careful not to puncture all the way through and get the internal organs or the intestinal tract. So you're really just wanting to cut all the way through the skin, the fat, and any connective tissue, just to break free the rear end of the chicken, the vent, and leave an opening where you can put your hand inside and pull out all of the entrails. So the method I found that works best for me is just to stick my hand in, grab as much of the entrails as I can, twist my hand around in a circular motion to break all the connective tissue free, and then pull out and dump out the entrails. We're not big fans of eating organs such as the liver or the gizzards. We do eat the hearts because it's basically a muscle and doesn't have a strong taste. Raven particularly enjoys the hearts, and when she knows that we're processing chickens, she demands to have the hearts from both the chickens and the ducks, which is pretty cool. Liver's just got a really strong mineral iron taste, and Rachel and I, neither one care for it. We could probably try some gizzards and would like those all right, I'm sure. Fry them up, have them with some gravy. The most difficult part for me, because I have larger hands, is getting the lungs out of the birds. The lungs are attached in the rib cage against the backbone of the chicken. And the best way that I found to do it is just to take your index finger and your middle finger and scrape in between the ribs to break the lungs free and pull them out. Alright, so I've got all the inside out. Now I'm just going back to the front, cut off the extra loose skin, make sure all the crop is out. If you bend the leg backwards and then cut in the joint, the connective tissue will easily separate and your knife won't hit any bone. If you start trying to cut on bone, it's going to dull your knife very quickly. All right, and now I'm just giving the inside or the cavity of the chicken a good rinse. I'll rinse off the skin as well. Rinse away any blood or any pieces that may have gotten on it from eviscerating the chicken. Once I'm satisfied with rinsing the chicken and it looks pretty good and clean, I'm going to go ahead and place it in one of the shrink bags and put it in the cooler. Alright, so it looks pretty good to me. I was trying to fold the wings under, but I don't think that's necessary. So I'm just going to go ahead and place it in the shrink bag. And it'll be ready for dipping in hot water later to shrink the bag and get all the air out and get it ready to go in the freezer. Alright. So now I've got the chicken out. I'm going to put a straw just inside the cavity. You don't want to push the straw all the way down to the base of the cavity because it will actually get suctioned up against the inside of the cavity and won't suck the air out. So just the tip of the straw down in the cavity. And then squeeze, gather up the bag and squeeze it around the straw as best as possible. Just going to put a zip tie on here and make it pretty snug to try to prevent any air from getting inside of the bag after the straw sucks the air out during the dipping in the hot water. So this water actually needs to be about 190 degrees. Made a mistake the first time we did this, and I left the water the same temperature as the scald, and it just wasn't hot enough and the bags did not shrink very well. I thought it was a problem with the bags, but then later I went back to the manufacturer's instructions and found out that I had the water too cool. So now I've got the water pretty hot. I've got it at about 191, and it looks like it did a pretty good job shrinking. Dip it a couple more times, and then I'm gonna squeeze around the end of the bag where the straw is, pull the straw out very quickly, and then secure the zip tie as quickly as possible so that no air gets back in there. That's it. Ready to go in the freezer.